Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all here. Start a bit about our calendar. Our calendar's based on the traditional Tamil almanac called a Panchangam, but Gurudeva added a number of distinctive features that aren't in the traditional one. And one of those is that we have 3 seasons called Ritaus rather than the traditional 6. Why do we have 3? Because we have dancing with Shiva, living with Shiva, and merging with Shiva. We don't have 3 more books. If we had 6 books, then we probably have 6 seasons. So there's 1 season for each book. Very simple. Nartana Ritau is where we are now, mid-April through mid-August. Jivana Ritau is mid-August through mid-December. And Moksha Ritau is mid-December through mid-April. And as we mentioned last week, the current Ritau, Nartana Ritau, is a natural time for planning, for seeing ahead, for adding another year onto our life plan, because 1 year has passed. As many of you know, Gurudeva loved to plan. Planning was very important to him. And to help everyone plan, to encourage them to plan, he wrote one of his Nandinada Sutras, Sutra number 9, on the topic. Shiva's devotees approach each enterprise with deliberate thoughtfulness and act only after careful consideration. They succeed in every undertaking by having a clear purpose, a wise plan, persistence, and push. This morning we're just going to look at the idea of clear purpose, the first one. Another term for purpose is goal, something we use more than purpose. We usually don't. We use purpose more for what's the purpose of life, something like that, something a little more philosophical. But goals, we all have goals for our life, the different aspects of our life. And another feature of Gurudeva's emphasis was, in addition to planning, he liked the idea of planning a balanced life. In other words, most of us, left to our own devices, will create an imbalanced life. There's something we like to do more than we should, and there are some things we like to do less than we should. And we'll just do them in that way. We won't discipline ourselves to really put the right amount of time and effort into the various aspects of our life to make it truly balanced. To help in this regard, Gurudeva created a 5-fold division that encompasses most aspects of life. We have spiritual, social, cultural, economic, and educational. And we ourselves added one more to balance it out, the physical aspect, physiological, to bring in health and environment. In creating goals for these 6 areas of life, it's helpful to ask a question. What do we want to accomplish in each of these areas of our life? What are the major goals we have that we want to accomplish over the next few years? Some of them are longer term, such as goals for our children. Those aren't just 2 or 3 years long. They're 20-some years long. But we can ask 6 questions one for each. What are our spiritual goals, social goals, cultural goals, economic goals, educational goals, and physical and health goals, and write them down. Very important to write them down because will be too many to just remember. And then you can edit the list. We created some sample goals just to catalyze thinking in each of these areas, since some of them may not be self-evident, others are. Everyone always understands economic goals and financial planning. In fact, that's one of the areas that tends to get more attention than it may need versus the other ones. Naturally, we list spiritual goals first. A good one is a yearly pilgrimage to a temple or holy place that's not in our immediate surroundings. In Hawaii, that's harder to do. There's nothing else nearby. Thus, we may have to pilgrimage less frequently, save up for it. Maybe every 5 years, 8 years, we could pilgrimage somewhere and we save up for it. If it's convenient, we can make a yearly pilgrimage to a different place. And of course, that's a topic unto itself, which we won't jump into, pilgrimage and preparing for pilgrimage and so forth. Social goals. Extended family gatherings is one area we could all do more of. Get in touch with the rest of our family in some way every few years. Get a big conclave where everyone gets together and stays updated. And more special family outings. Those are enjoyable by all. Cultural goals. Children taking dance and music lessons is a common one. Adults attending cultural performances. And if you know how to paint, play music, or sing, taking time to actually do that, to express one's cultural talents on a regular basis. Economic goals is one that's usually in the forefront of everyone's mind. Saving for the children's education, saving for retirement are two very important economic goals that need to be attended to on a regular basis. Educational goals, of course, the children's secular education. But Gurudeva also encouraged adults to continue to develop skills. Keeps us alert. In modern terminology, it prevents Alzheimer's. Keep the brain working, learn new things. It adds, what would you say, adds a new dimension to our life when we keep learning new things and adding it. So what are some of the new things? Well, career advancement, of course, for those who are in the workplace is very important. But such hobbies as learning about herbs, healing, preserving fruit, arts and crafts, simple things to fill out our life in a more balanced way are useful to learn. One of the sutras indicates it's good to learn to make things with your hands. It's a wonderful refinement, spiritual refinement to do that. Physiological goals is our last category, and of course that includes all health goals, exercise, diets, therapies, fasting regimens, as well as improvements to the environment, your home, your clothing, to upgrade it, keep it more actinic is the word we use, free from instinctive odic forces, by having it new and clean. Sometimes goals are developed, but they're not clear enough. Well, that's one of the reasons Gurudeva says, doesn't say just purpose, he says clear purpose. How do we know if we have a clear purpose? We can ask, what are we trying to do exactly? And if we can't come up with an answer, maybe we don't have a clear purpose. Sometimes we take on activities because our friends are doing them. Or we see it on television or something. It's fairly superficial. And that kind of activity usually we can't sustain because we haven't really thought it through and made it part of ourselves. That's the idea of making sure the purpose, why you're doing this, what's the goal of this activity, is a good reflection now and then. And writing it down is a good way to be clear that this is something I want to do. It's not something my friend is doing or something I simply saw on television. As you might expect, there's going to be a part 2. Part 2 is a wise plan. Something to look forward to in the next talk. Thank you very much. Om Namah Shivaya.